Sometime in the near future, a major earthquake will lay waste to the entire California coastline. From out of the rubble will rise a menace far more terrifying than the death and destruction. Surf Nazis.
Who rules the beaches?
Surfers rule!
Who rules the surfers?
The beautiful beaches, once the crown jewels of California, are now ruled by ruthless gangs. Only one person is powerful enough, daring enough, brave enough to stop them. Only one person can ensure that surf Nazis must die. She's tough.
I want to buy a gun. He's talking like trash, but I'm more interested in something that'll take the head off a honky at 20 pesos.
She's dangerous. She's all woman. She's Leroy's mama. And as long as she's alive, the surf Nazis must die. First, there was the Road Warrior. Then there was the Terminator. Now comes an action film of relentless excitement.
Taste some of Mama's home cooking, Ada!
See the film that is creating a tidal wave of action all over the world. See Surf Nazis Must Die.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Dovicki, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, friends.
Hello. I don't know if you guys got the emails, but I am patiently waiting on the wait list for Movie Pass. So looking forward to doing that. I don't know. Have you guys gotten that yet?
Is this a bit? Are you really?
Yeah, I'm on the wait list for Movie Pass.
Oh, no, I did not, because they're my ex for a reason.
Yeah, you got to learn your lesson, right?
Yeah.
This is fool me once.
I didn't pay any money.
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah.
When it comes, I'm assuming a bill will be due.
Yeah, they don't advertise how much it's going to cost you up front. They got to lure you in.
Oh, so somebody's going to come to my house and you sign up for the wait list. That means you must pay.
Yes. Yeah,
Pretty
they're
much.
going to hired goons are going to come to your house.
Damn it.
They saw you fucking coming, man. They saw themselves a pigeon.
Well, I mean, my name is Mark, so it's kind of built in.
They just circled all the marks in the phone book.
I actually contemplated getting whatever the A-list for Regal Cinema is today.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it's just not worth it. There's no reason to do it anymore, I feel like.
I still do the A-list, but all I have is AMC's near me.
Yeah, the nearest one is a half hour away from me. It's not, I can't justify with these gas prices. I can't do it just yet.
Yeah, I only have AMC's around me too, but they're a lot closer than you, Dan. But yeah, the only thing I found out recently when I did $3 movie day was the King of Prussia Regal is a 40X, which is, that thing where the chairs move and they do all that fancy shit. And I'm like, ooh.
Is that fun? It doesn't sound like fun.
The Bond thing was pretty cool, but they only used parts of it. It was really just a chair moving around and a fan blowing on you. But there's some other things where I think there's vibration in the chair or sprays water on you.
That
things
sounds just terrible, to be honest.
It sounds fine for a 10-minute experience at a theme park.
Yeah.
It does not sound great to me for a 2-hour movie.
No, I just got to keep an eye on it because at some point I want to feel like I'm part of the family.
I don't like getting wet when I'm in my
Cancel
clothes.
this podcast.
That sigh was exactly what I was going for, Ant.
I should just stop. I should just stop this podcast so Mark doesn't have an avenue to spread this.
Well, he's going to start his own.
I'm giving Mark a platform, and that's the problem. It's like when Joe Rogan brings on neo-Nazis, people say, you're giving these assholes a platform. I'm giving this asshole a platform for his just Vin Diesel cult, I think.
So in this situation, Anthony is Joe Rogan, Mark is the neo-Nazi. So what does that make me?
What's his producer's name? Jamie?
I was going to go, does Joe Rogan have a producer?
Yeah, all right.
Jamie, pull that up.
I didn't want to be the asshole left out here.
You're Jamie in this. So Joe
All right.
Rogan
We're
says,
all in
Jamie,
this
pull that
together.
up. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I watched something that
Oh,
is
yes.
not Fast and the Furious related.
That's this part of this part of the show where we talk about what we watched this week. Dan, why don't you tell us what you watched that didn't have Vin Diesel in it?
Well, that's not entirely true now that I think
Oh,
about
you motherfucker!
it. I
Okay,
thought
Damn it.
Groot, because you watch
Yeah. Thor: Love and Thunder has Groot in it, but
Sure.
which is inexplicable to me that they still hire Vin Diesel to do this voice of a teenage tree, right? Like they couldn't just get some schmuck in the studio. Like, hey, just say I am Groot. We're gonna mess up the voice anyway. So
He must have pictures of someone. He must have like Epstein's black book or something, and he's holding it over people's heads.
Yeah, he
For
found
employment?
out something. Yeah, he found out something when he went through the Producers Guild stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Producer, he found
Well-
something out.
Well, I apologize, and I didn't mean to further the issue here, but I did watch Thor: Love and Thunder. I cried a little. I didn't openly sob, but I cried a little at the whole Jane having cancer. Even though you want to hear how fucking nerdy I am,
Mhm.
I didn't cry because of the scene itself. When Mark, have you seen Thor: Love and Thunder?
I have not, but it's fine. You know me.
I apologize, but so there's a scene where Jane reveals that she has cancer, and she goes to the hospital because she's losing it because she every time she becomes Thor, it exacerbates her cancer. So she's in the hospital bed, and I was talking about it with my wife, and I started describing how it is in the comic book, what happens,
Mhm.
and that's what made me sad. Not the movie, the comic book. Just describing how it happens in the comic book made me choke up.
Mhm.
And my wife kind of had to you could see on her face she was kind of, should I make fun of him or should I console him? Because she could see I was welling up a little bit. It was like one of those things, like, well, in the comic books, Thor dies and Jane takes over.
Oh no!
And she's using her powers, but every time she uses it, she gets, a little bit, and I'm just like, as I'm continuing it, go, all right, Dan, relax. This is all fake. Don't go off the deep end. But yeah, I thought it was a good movie. It wasn't, I liked Ragnarok better, but all the hate that this movie got, I felt was a little unnecessary. It's not, it's fine. It's a middle of the road Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It had a good final act. You and I were talking about it earlier. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Other than that, I'm caught up on The House of the Dragon on HBO Max, and I'm caught up on The Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. Both are okay. They're fine. Nothing to really write home about, I guess, which is, I think it's a problem for Amazon if people feel that way, because I know they kind of tied a lot of their carts to this, or a lot of, what would the saying be? They
$1
tied their
billion.
horses. Yeah, they tied a lot of money into this series.
They tied their $1 billion into it.
Yeah, so yeah, not great, but not terrible.
Mhm.
I'm along for the ride, but I'm not blown away by it.
Well, I mean, that's why you get the NFL. Amazon.
That's true too. Yeah, that does help a little bit. But
Do you think there's
not-
just too much stuff?
in general?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
everything is just so much, and most of it's like fine.
yeah.
Right?
No, I agree. I think I feel like we're due for a lull in television.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just so much shit
yeah,
that I just choose not to watch.
because you think about it, how many good streaming shows have come out in the past decade? A lot, right?
Hmm.
So there's got to be the ebb and the flow.
Yeah. Just
So
being inundated with content. I think that's what the issue is.
Yeah, and we were talking about it today because we were the movie we watched was on Peacock, and we don't have like Peacock Prime or whatever, or like
Mhm.
the whatever it is called, and it just gets annoying because everything has its own special show or content, and the whole point of doing this was to cut the cord where you save money on cable, and now you're probably saving money with cable because you have just tons of subscription.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're due for a downward spiral eventually, and
Yeah.
just as a human race, we're terrible. So it's only natural that it would transition to our television media.
Yeah. Maybe the sun will explode soon.
We keep saying
That's the
it,
hope.
and I think the more we say it, the longer it'll take, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, these assholes, these scientists keep telling me that the world is doomed, and it's just like, man, it should just get here already.
Yeah.
What are we holding on to?
Nothing at
Nothing.
all.
Just a bunch of bullshit.
Well, maybe people out there are holding on to this podcast.
Maybe.
And
Thanks for listening. If
that's
you're
great.
in the future, if you're listening to this in the post-apocalypse, thank you.
I would love to see a movie where the hero, the sole survivor of the apocalypse, is just wandering around, and he has all these podcasts. And it's almost like that Twilight Zone episode, right, where he wants to just read,
Yeah.
but this guy just wants to listen to podcasts, and like, oh, now I have time, and then his eardrums pop or something like that. I don't know.
All right. Mark, what did you watch? Anything?
No, not this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be like, well, I was really thinking really hard about going to watch Top Gun again, but I guess not.
I would love to keep talking about Top Gun, but
No.
I know you guys don't care.
Nope.
I like Top Gun. We could talk about that off air, Mark, if you want.
Yeah.
We could start our own little thing.
Yeah, Maverick was good. So, Ant, what'd you watch?
Shush. Not much. Didn't really watch much this week. Been busy, out of the house, like a human being for once.
You touched grass?
I touched grass. I didn't cut it, but I touched it. The only thing I really watched, I think it was really last week, I started watching Detroiters, which was a Tim Robinson, Sam. Oh man, just blanked on his name.
I think you got it right. Tim Robinson, right?
Tim Robinson and Sam something.
Yes.
Sam Richardson. Sam Richardson. I was going to call him Sam Robinson. I was like, that can't be right because that's the same last name. Their show that was on Comedy Central like 5 or 6 years ago. It's pretty funny if you're into Tim Robinson stuff. If you listen to, if you watched I Think You Should Leave, it's probably right up your alley. It's pretty funny. Comedian, the sitcom about two guys that are running a low rent ad agency in Detroit, and it's funny. But I'm like 6 episodes in or so.
How many seasons?
I think it's only two or three. So it's probably like 30 episodes or so total.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to get through, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it's on Paramount Plus, so it comes with ads. So that's always a crapshoot if it's ever going to come back after the ad break.
Yeah. Once you said Paramount Plus, I kind of checked out.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we'll see. It's buffering. Maybe it'll reload the show. But that's all I watched this week.
I work for that.
Yeah. I watched too much football. That's what I watched this week.
God, don't remind me. It was fun and not fun. I feel like that it's the only sport that could be fun and not fun at the same time.
Yeah. I spent way too much time, and I was like, man, I kind of wasted this time watching football. But it's week 1, so, you gotta.
And it was raining out, so
yeah, that's true
really
too.
Not much we could have done.
No. This week will be different. I'll try and not watch so much. That's all I watched. So we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads so we can pay those bills, and we will be back in a second. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into this week's movie. And this week was Mark's pick. So Mark, why don't you tell us what we watched this week?
Yeah, so the movie I chose this week came out of a conversation at work where we were talking about like old 80s surf movies. And I looked at the list that was on when I searched Google. And the movie I chose for this week was the only one I could find streaming that looked even remotely interesting. And that was Surf Nazis Must Die from 1987. It's a Troma film, so I thought, oh, okay, maybe we'll look into something here. I was wrong. This movie only has like one even semi-badass character, and she doesn't arrive until the last third of the movie. And the rest of it, it's like the bad guys win for 2/3 of the movie. And I don't really get the plot at all. It was really bad. Like the Troma films are usually pretty bad, but they have somewhat of a structure to it. This just seemed like someone came up with the concept for the movie and just didn't have any story with it and just got a bunch of money thrown at them. So
Well,
Yeah,
let's not go too far how much money they got thrown at them.
well, yeah, I wasn't saying it's a whole lot, but they just got money thrown at them. It's like, here, yeah, go do something. Surf Nazi, sure, whatever. Paint swastikas on their face. It'll be fine. We'll put it in theaters, or if they even put it in theaters. But
Can't imagine this made it into theaters, right?
I couldn't find any box office numbers for it.
Yeah,
I did find a
so-
budget number for it, though.
but yeah, so essentially it came out of, because the original movie I had for this week, we couldn't find streaming anywhere. And so I replaced it with this. And I'm kind of wishing that maybe we could have found to do some like dubious means or something, the other movie I had in this instead of this one. But yeah, Surf Nazis Must Die.
All right, Dan, where are you coming from with Surf Nazis Must Die?
No notes. Perfect. That's all I have written
That's
here.
a perfect film. Nice.
Yeah, you can't get any better than Surf Nazis Must Die. Yeah, this is cinema, folks. Sure is.
You just want to end the podcast here?
I want to end a lot of things after watching this movie.
It's art, Dan, is what you're saying.
Oh, of the highest order. Let me tell you guys. Jesus Christ.
This is a movie that Scorsese would be proud of, is what you're saying. It's not like that Marvel trash that he doesn't like.
Right. Yeah, he would probably prefer this. Yeah. Obviously, like you said, Troma. So you know you're getting schlock, but this is highly offensive schlock. You know, where even because we covered Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
And that was pushing it for this podcast. This is we jumped over the line. We just did a full-on cannonball over the line here into like shit. There's no discernible plot. There's no character development. The action scenes are terrible. For 2/3 of the movie, there is no protagonist. There's nobody. It's just watching Nazis kill people. So, like Mark, you were saying, basically the Nazis are the focus, and they're winning. Right? They're taking out rival gangs of, first of all, beach gangs. Is that ever a thing in real life?
It's the 80s, man, of course.
God. I can't I don't know. This movie was just it was just too offensive, and it made me sad to watch this movie. What was the original movie, by the way, Mark?
The Dungeon Master.
Yeah. We should have just like pretended to have watched The Dungeon Master and kind of bullshitted our way through it. You know, how difficult could it have been? This was listen, I'm not picking on you, Mark. This was a bad choice just because the movie it's very bad. That's all I'm saying. It's not your fault. It's the movie's fault.
Kind of sounds like you're blaming him.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming Mark. I'm not. I want to say that, put it on record, because like you said, it came from a work conversation, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're in for unless the guy told you or the person told you, like, hey, yeah, they're gonna drop the N-bomb a couple times. They're gonna drop a couple F words. Yeah, it's great. If that's the case, I'm like,
a movie with the word Nazi in it, it's like you'd be like, okay, like those words are probably all going to come up because nobody. That's the easiest way to write Nazis, is to just make them say those words all the time.
I was very surprised that there were any people of color in this movie, to be honest with you, because I just thought that it was very apparent that they were Nazis from the very first shot, where there's children with just swastikas painted on them. So were they basically like the surf Hitler Youth?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I mean, the only thing I'll agree on this movie is the title is Surf Nazis Must Die. Like, they must. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. They have to be killed.
Sure.
One way or the other. So that's all this movie has going for it.
Yeah. As for me, I've heard of this movie for a while, and I've heard it was bad. And I guess I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more fun bad, because it was Troma. And it's just a whole lot of waiting around for something that doesn't really pay off. Like Mrs. Washington at the end getting her revenge. That's awesome. That's great. But in between, the kills aren't particularly interesting. The death scenes. Even at the end, they're not very interesting. There's one decapitation, but just not a great cult film. But it's a great title. Surf Nazis Must Die. Great title.
No,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I wrote that down too. There's a few death scenes, but they're just not what you would expect from a Troma movie.
Yeah. And the characters aren't that fun or interesting. Like, obviously, I'm not going to root for a guy named Adolf who just has brought Nazis back into the post-apocalyptic LA. But I just felt like all of the Nazis, they like just kick their asses. They don't seem very intimidating.
The other surf gangs make the Nazi gang look like tactical geniuses.
Right, because they're all just stupid.
Yeah.
Like the samurai surfers, they have this great plan of that they're going to sneak up on Ava and Adolf, who are sleeping on the beach. And then they just proceed to make a ton of noise as they go to do it, waking Adolf up, and he gets into position and thwarts their sneak attack.
Yeah, well, they were samurai, not ninjas.
Guess, but
I don't know.
Well, the way that they make it out to be is that they're supposed to be like silent and deadly, I thought.
I mean, they didn't need to be silent. They just needed to not make as much noise as they did.
And how much noise can you theoretically make on a beach? Right?
Yeah.
You're walking on sand, which naturally absorbs, sound waves, I would imagine, right?
Yep.
So,
and you got the waves crashing.
Right. So there's a lot of ambient noises going on, and you still fuck it up.
Yeah. Very disappointing.
Yeah. I also hated the guy Hook.
I hated Hook. I hated Mengele.
Yeah, like Hook.
I mean, let me go on record.
Obnoxious Hook I've ever seen.
Let me go on record. I've never met a Mengele or heard of a Mengele that I've liked.
Yep.
I didn't know there was more than one Mengele.
Well, is this one and the one from the Nazis? The actual Nazi.
Wait, that's a real person?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I never heard of that name.
Is it Joseph Mengele?
Something like that.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. They mention him in it, too.
Oh, okay. Well, I know Ava and obviously Adolf.
Yeah. He was the angel of death.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Now, was there a Nazi named Hook?
Good question.
Maybe like as a nickname, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Rommel? I didn't know.
I had written... So I didn't know where this movie was really going in the first 20 minutes of it. So there's a lot of surfing footage.
Oh yeah, gotta pad that runtime.
Yeah. So I had written down, if Hitler had utilized these guys on the beaches of Normandy, we're probably looking at a totally different outcome of D-Day.
You mean the Americans win faster?
Man, no, apparently these guys are just like killing machines. They can thwart any plan. So
Are you saying the Hitler-led surf Nazis would have had switchboards?
Yes, 100%, right?
Okay, got it.
So that they would have somehow been able to sneak up on our boys coming across on their boats, and they would have sunk them all or something. They would have just mowed right through them. It would have been disastrous. We'd be speaking German right now.
I'm looking up. So there wasn't a hook, but the Nazis use a symbol called a Wolfsangel, which I guess is a sort of hook.
Okay.
Its alternate name is called a wolf's hook. Doppelhaken.
Interesting. So there is some historical accuracies in this movie.
Yeah, kind of like they went to the library once and found a book about Nazis.
Yeah.
And Smeg was the blonde-haired kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that could be for the SMG, the submachine gun that the Germans used. Smeg.
Oh, okay. It's funny. So there's four. Is there 4 gangs? 3 gangs, right? 4.
So a couple of the generic white dudes kind of run together. So there's the surf Nazis. Then there's the standard surfer dudes. Then there's the guys in the black tanks
and the
cargo shorts. Yeah, the pipe runners or something.
Pipe runners, that's what it is.
And then the samurai surfers.
Yeah.
So there's 4.
Everyone, it's so weird. Like their uniforms, where the Nazis are dressed in black and they just have the swastikas. Then you have the samurai who are also in dark colors. And then you have these fucking dorks, these white dudes who were dressed in like neon colors.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were an actual gang. I thought they were just surfers.
They looked like they were getting ready to do an episode of Wild and Crazy Kids.
You're right. Yeah.
And then there's the
How am I-
standard surfer guys.
Right.
What I'm not sure was an actual gang or was just surfers.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I don't think they were actual gang members.
They're just surfers caught in the crosshairs.
Crossfire.
But there was actually another gang. So there was a couple other guys because there was the biker gang at the meeting, and there was also the preteen skateboarders.
Oh, the ears of the beach, right?
So I don't know if they're the same. They probably are the same because they weren't going to hire a bunch of other child actors to be it. But in the meeting, there's a whole bunch of like 6 or 7 teenagers that roll up on skateboards and some random woman as like their den mother of some sort.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's more than I remember.
When Adolf makes his stupid appearance coming down off the forklift.
Oh, jeez. I have just like I remember these scenes and I have very few notes here. But one of them is serves that woman right for carrying a whole ass watermelon on the beach. What is that?
Yeah, that was great. I'm glad you brought that up.
What is that? What did I mean by that?
Someone jacks her of her watermelon.
Yeah, and then
That's
you
right.
see Adolf eating it later.
Oh, that is right. Okay, so was that like the tribute to Adolf?
Yeah, they were stealing stuff to bring back to Adolf. That's
Okay.
what all that stuff they were throwing in the oil can or the oil barrel thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Was-
Okay, so they're paying tribute to him. Got it.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, and they're basically what they just steal stuff to resell. And I guess they stole a watermelon, so no resale value in watermelons, so we ate it.
Who have you ever seen someone bring a whole watermelon onto the beach?
No.
No,
Yeah, right. That
I,
seems
I
like
don't.
it,
I don't know if that's an inside joke somewhere among the crew or something.
or is it like something old people do?
I don't know.
Or just, let's buy some cheap props to use. Here's a watermelon, it's 30 cents.
So what? Yeah, that's such a choice for that. Yeah. What else do I have written here? Smeg's mom is a MILF. I got that in there. I feel terrible for having watched this. Got it. Oh, so my wife, she was watching this with me, and the only time she complained was when they show Smeg's mom cutting the celery. She said she's not cutting it correctly. That was her biggest problem with the movie, apparently.
All right. Well, how are you supposed to cut celery?
So I think the way she was saying it, like the way Smeg's mom was doing it was just a straight up and down when you're supposed to do kind of like a rowing motion with it. So you cut it and bring it back, cut it, bring it back.
Sure.
You don't do up and down because there's a greater chance of cutting your finger.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Seems right. So
Yeah.
this
I'm
movie.
trying to think of how I cut, and yeah, it's more of a rowing motion.
Yeah. Just another problem, a glaring problem with this movie.
And apparently, the only one your wife disagrees with. Oh, okay.
Everything else completely understands.
So, Surf Nazis Must Die from 1987 was directed by Peter George. Peter George directed 3 things besides this: a movie called Young Goodman Brown and 2 episodes of Acapulco Heat. Stars Gail Neely, Robert Hardin, Barry Brenner, Don Wildsmith, Michael Sagne, Joel Heil, Tom Shell, and Bobby Breesy. Has an IMDb score of 3.7 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 17%. Budget $20,000, and I could not find a box office number because I'm sure it did not go to theaters.
Yeah, I think
$20,000.
I think they overestimated the budget.
Someone's walking around with $18,000 in their pocket.
These weren't even actors. They were just filming kids on the beach.
Yeah, that's LA for you.
I wonder where they got the idea that they needed to be Nazis. Why couldn't it
Yeah.
just be a surf gang?
Feel like they came up with the title first and then they worked around it.
Okay. It screams like a Family Guy plot. You know what I mean? Like one of their cutaway gags.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put surfers in there and Nazis in there and samurai surfers. Like it's just whatever you could jumble up in your twisted head. Let's just put it in it. It'll fly. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Adolf's real name is Ricky Johnson. Smeg's mother reveals the name when she learns her son is hanging out with the surf Nazis and confronts him about it. I did like
What?
that moment.
What's his
Is-
name again?
Ricky Johnson.
Ricky Johnson. I thought it was like Gerald.
No, it's Ricky Johnson. It just
Nice.
shows like how much of a dork he is. They're all just so fucking dorks. Mengele, huge dork.
Oh yeah, but that's the other thing. Like, what kind of mom is Smeg's mom? Where she knows that they're Nazis, she says it. Like, I don't want you hanging out with those Nazis, and then he just kind of does what he pleases anyway.
Well, not at the end.
Oh, she does stop him,
Yeah,
right? All right,
he's
so
not there at the end, so he survives actually.
Oh, that's right. I kind of tuned out every now and then, if I'm being honest with you. This was very hard to get through.
You guys want to get into the plot?
Yeah, why not? Let's get it over with, right?
Yeah. Dan, what you got?
Okay, so to cleanse this for a little bit, I'm going to tell you about some good people that we follow, Tia and Brittany, and we would like you to go check out their podcast called The Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany run down the top 10 list of the week. You can find this podcast at geekvibesnation.com, and you can find both of them on Twitter. Tia is at TC_Stark, and Brittany is at Itty Bitty Brit.
Okay, great. And we will be right back, and you guys are going to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast, and we'll be back in a second.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot 4. Surf Nazis Must Die. We open on a group of young children being indoctrinated by the titular surf Nazis, telling them that goofy-footed surfing is inferior and the best waves can be found in Waikiki. Meanwhile, we get a montage of destruction in LA after a catastrophic earthquake leaves 80,000 dead and countless others homeless.
Yeah, was the population less when this movie was made in LA? Because isn't it like 14 million? Like
80,000 people dying in an earthquake is
no. I meant they were just like and others displaced. Like the way they set this up, it would have been like all like they could have said millions. That like they didn't. I don't know. The gravity of what happened just seemed like it was a really bad earthquake that 80,000 people died in. Not that it brought about the post-apocalyptic world that we inhabit here.
We only see so much, though, right?
Yeah,
like
this could just be the beach.
This could just be the beach neighborhoods of Los Angeles has now been given up to the surf Nazis.
It's almost like the plot of Superman the movie, right? Where Lex wants to basically break California off from the rest of the United States. Isn't that kind of like
coastline real estate?
Exactly. So now you have that coastline real estate where it's just run by Nazi surfers. So
isn't there a similar plot in Superman Returns?
Yeah, that's the exact same plot, just with Kevin Spacey now.
Meanwhile, a surf Nazi named Smeg talks about getting some wax, and another guy named Mengele is copping a switchblade, and he jumps on the back of a motorcycle driven by a woman named Ava. They go to a rundown building, look for a guy named Adolf, and he greets this girl by calling her Ava.
For some reason, I thought they were calling him Adolf, just trying not to say Adolf. But I don't know.
He's not shy.
Yeah. The first couple times they said it, I'm like, are they like saying it differently? Just as like a sort of wink and a nod, at the camera. But no, they obviously say Adolf a lot in this movie. But I just found that weird.
Meanwhile, a Mrs. Washington gets sent to live in a retirement home after her house is destroyed by the earthquake. And we meet the aforementioned Mengele, who is fitting another surf Nazi with some sort of bladed hand. We'll later know this other Nazi as Hook, because he's only got one hand. Radio reports all over the talk about the rise in gang-related crime after the earthquake, and the surf Nazis show up in a van to the middle of nowhere to meet Adolf, and they show off a bunch of stuff that they pilfered in the city. But Adolf wishes they gotten money instead of junk. Adolf and Ava then jump on a motorcycle, and all the surf Nazis head to the beach to surf. And Nazis salute as they do it. First, it's just Adolf surfing, and then the rest join him.
Yeah, I imagine that this movie started with the title and this idea of the, of the Nazis doing the Heil symbol, the salute while surfing. And that was all they had. And then they were like, gang warfare. Nah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Warriors.
Yeah.
But less fun.
Except you don't learn about any of the other gangs.
Yeah. Would you do Ava, despite the fact that she's a Nazi?
Well, I was going to say, is she a Nazi in this?
Well, she is a Nazi. Yeah.
No.
Well, then she wouldn't be Ava now, would you?
Well,
No.
Well, what if we could... All right, well, how about this? Yes, if I'm thinking that I can change her.
Okay.
Right? I can fix her. Then yes.
That's why all your relationships fail, Dan.
Wait, because they're not Nazis? Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, wait a minute. I've been pretty good about staying away from Nazi women. And I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but, hooking up with Nazis is definitely not one of them.
Yeah, well, then we also got to joke about that. Once we find out a little fact about Adolf later, we're not even sure if Ava's even her real name.
Yeah, I'm assuming that these are just basically code names, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be, Mengele's name is probably not Mengele. We already know Smeg's name isn't Smeg.
Right. So
Ava's the
name,
laziest.
her name's probably like Susan.
Yeah. Or Summer. What's a
Summer.
real white bread name?
Yeah, she looks like a Summer.
If we looked up what the most popular names were in 1987.
Heather,
Ashley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived next to a Heather and Ashley.
There
when I was
you go.
growing up.
Are they Nazis?
You know what? Wouldn't put it past them.
That's the other thing.
It is Central Jersey.
I had written down. It's wild how this is considered outlandish in 1987, and yet here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be surfing Nazis that we don't even know about right now.
Just waiting for their time.
Yep. Nearby, Mrs. Washington's son Leroy watches the Nazi surf as he works on an oil derrick. Mrs. Washington, meanwhile, is not having fun at the home, so she thinks back to when she still had a home and she played cards with her elderly friends and just smoked cigars. Mrs. Washington's a badass, if you didn't realize.
Yeah. If I was going to open the show lighting a Black and Mild, but I didn't have any in the house. So
I would rather have watched a movie with just those women getting into hijinks, and I kind of thought that's where it was heading.
That would have been more fun.
Yeah, where all of these women are going to take down all of the gangs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have watched. Yeah, the movie would have been better if Mrs. Washington was the protagonist throughout the whole movie, and she was like a Foxy Brown Shaft type character.
Yeah, I was just gonna say she's Charles Bronson in Death Wish.
Yeah. We needed a protagonist, like a clear protagonist in this movie.
Yeah, like Leroy gets killed early, and then she systematically kills all the Nazis.
Right. Yeah, I had written down we needed a training montage of Eleanor, just kind of, gearing up all the weapons, training and like coming up with the plan to get rid of all the gangs. And it's just so haphazard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We spend far too much time on surfing.
Far too much time on surfing and the Nazis,
Yeah. I get it's the title, but you don't literally have to show us those two things constantly.
Yeah. At night, Adolf declares himself the Führer of the new beach as they sit around a fire on the beach. And Hook, the guy with a hook, says he's bored and wants to cut some holes in some people. And Adolf talks in riddles, and I'm not quite sure what he's saying, but there's some sort of thing happening the next day. And Ava says RSVP in blood for all that don't show. And they all have a big laugh about it.
Now that doesn't make sense, right? Because RSVP means you are coming.
Does RSVP just meaning whether or not you are coming or not?
Yeah.
I took it as, like, if you RSVP, you are coming. But
you can RSVP one of two. Like, I think it's yes or no.
Okay. RSVP is to accept or decline.
Okay, gotcha. I thought it was just saying yes.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Not according to my my Outlook.
Well,
I could RSVP or decline a meeting.
so now were there actual invitations sent? Is that what they were saying? Or was it just
Possibly. I think that's what she was saying. She's like, you know, the bikers, they haven't RSVP'd yet, so I'm assuming they're not coming.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I thought it was like a word of mouth thing.
No,
No, she sent them out in the mail, and she's waiting for them to come back.
Certified mail.
Yep.
And then there's like, you got to call the people that didn't RSVP. They're like, are you coming? Yeah.
Oh man, that must have been a huge pain.
Yeah, I had a fun thing for a wedding come up where I got a call like that. I was like, "Are you coming?" I was like, "I didn't know I was invited." And they were like, "We sent it to this address." I'm like, "Well, I was there 2 houses ago."
Did you have to send it back in blood?
I wish.
That
would have been a fun wedding,
right? I feel like that should be something we bring back.
That should be how your Halloween invitation should be.
I think any RSVP should, like, if you really mean to come, like, prove your fealty. You know, prove it to me.
The next day, they start getting ready for whatever it is. Adolf puts on a cape, and other gangs get ready. Some teen skateboarders, some Asian guys with Ninja Turtle weapons, generic white dudes in cargo shorts, and non-Nazi surfers. And they all meet at a warehouse, and Adolf makes his appearance via a forklift and takes his place at the head of some sort of D-Gen council. Someone asks, "What's this all about, Kraut?" And Adolf responds by cutting open a bag of sand and says they're not getting enough out of the beaches. He says they need to centralize power to take over the coast. And one of the generic white dudes says that Adolf can't handle the power, and one of the Nazis shoots a crossbow at him to shut him up. Back at the retirement home, the nurses are complaining about how unruly Mrs. Washington is and how she won't eat their drugged food. So Mrs. Washington, meanwhile, cuts down a branch of a tree in order to make the view from her window even better.
Every scene she's in, she gets more and more badass as this movie goes along.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mengele works on some sort of DIY project as Adolf watches. Mengele shows him a surfboard with a switchblade on it. On the beaches, Nazi children are stealing stuff from beach patrons as Adolf watches on. Biker named Wheels walks into a biker bar with a manila folder full of money. And a waitress immediately lifts her top to show him her tits, tries to steal from him as he's distracted. His old lady nearly cuts her fingers off and chases her away.
Fantastic ADR, by the way, in this scene.
What was ADR?
The biker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, big. It was not his voice when he was talking to the Nazi chick.
Right. And then Ava and the rest of the Nazis come in and shakes down the biker for the cut of the drug money. He's light, but she takes what he has and tells him he needs to make up for it next week. And the Nazis then pile into their van and head to the beach. Adolf watches some samurai surfers. So he sends his dudes out to go fight the samurai surfers, and he fucks Ava on the beach as Smeg watches on. And then they have a knife fight on the beach until Adolf breaks it up, and the samurai surfers walk off. Back at the retirement home, Leroy leaves after visiting his mom and mentions that he's going to go swimming. And then down on the beach, one of the child Nazis tries to snatch a woman's purse on the beach, but Leroy grabs the kid and takes the purse away from him and gives it back to the woman. Adolf pops up out of nowhere saying, "What's the big deal?" And then he makes some remarks about Leroy's mom. So Leroy throttles him, but then the Nazis show up and Hook kills him with his hook. And we have a quick montage of Mrs. Washington identifying Leroy's body and then having a funeral for him, pleading with God to find out who did it. Back on the beach at night, the Nazis have some sort of infighting about the mess that Hook made at the beach, and Mengele makes vague references to the fact that Ava is the one running the show. Later in Mengele's workshop, Mengele and Adolf have it out. Mengele saying that Ava is the one that's running things, and they get pissy at each other. Meanwhile, Mrs. Washington continues to mourn Leroy. Then we cut to Smeg's house, who has an incredibly normal white bread family, and his mom tells him that Adolf and his neo-Nazi gang is just basically bullshit, because his name is Ricky Johnson.
Yeah, it's a Smeg. You can tell how creative he was, since his real name is Greg.
If you're a parent and your kid, and you find out your kid wants to join a Nazi group, like, wouldn't the first thing you would do would be like alert some kind of authority?
You probably should, but would a woman call the cops on her kid?
I mean, if they're hanging out with Nazis, that's I feel like at one point you gotta do something.
In this particular movie, there are 2 reasons why it doesn't happen. One, apparently the cops have stopped enforcing the law in this area of town.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no cops for her to call.
So it's like a no man's land.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
2, she's been talking to a therapist who says it's just because he's mad at them. Not that he's actually a Nazi. He's just pissed off his parents. That's why he's hanging with Nazis.
I don't know,
So,
man. If my kid comes back saying like, yeah, I made some new friends. They're this Nazi group. I'm kicking that kid out.
Well, yeah, sure, but I think she's still in the state of I could knock some sense into him.
Okay.
She's still at that period of this.
Okay.
Like, I just need to be a better parent.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's too late for Smeg.
I think he's the easiest to reform back.
See, I think that's a plot line that could have worked.
Yeah.
You know, like he sees the kill on Leroy, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't know, this might not be for me." And then like Adolf's like, "No, you if you want it out, that means we got to kill you or something like that." Some sort of remorse to him, but we never see it. Although it feels like that's the character that would have that moment.
Yeah.
Also, I think he's really just doing it to get laid.
Oh
right?
yeah, he's talking to those beach babes.
That's right. So he mentions like, oh yeah, we're gonna take over the beach totally, and they're calling him out on it. But yeah, it seems like he just wants to get some tail.
Yeah, because the girls were like, the Nazis. That's not cool. Those other guys, guys are cool.
Now then, I would have turned around and said, "Oh, did I say Nazis? I meant I'm with the samurai guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my people."
So Adolf goes to a shopkeeper that they are selling their stolen wares to, and he shakes them down for better sales prices. Down at the beach, Mrs. Washington overhears Smeg talk to a couple of babes about how Nazis killed a black guy and are going to be the gang of the future. He did not say a black guy. So Mrs. Washington grabs Smeg and throws him up against the wall, against the album cover for the King Crimson's 1969 debut album, In the Court of the Crimson King. And then smash cut to a montage of surfer footage to pad the runtime.
Did you notice before the smash cut, Eleanor takes her hand off of Smeg just slightly too early?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so she's holding him up against the wall, and then she just kind of like lets him go. I think cut was yelled, so she let go, but the edit didn't cut to the surfers.
Gotcha.
So it was just a split second. It was like she just lets go and like, oh, okay, we're done here.
They needed that extra second for
They
it to be a
needed
feature.
Exactly.
Adolf comes in from surfing to find someone has burned down a whole bunch of their boards. That night he has an absolute breakdown about it. The infighting continues with Mengele blaming Ava. So Adolf says they need to save the fighting for them, quote unquote, and tomorrow they'll exact their revenge. At this point, what does Mrs. Washington do with Smeg? Does she like drag him home to his mom or something like that?
Either that or tells him to go home to his mom.
Right? Because like we never find out what occurs, but I could imagine like her showing up at the doorstep with like pulling on his ear,
Right.
You gotta see what your boy's doing down the beach,
Yeah, I think, or unless she like smacks some sense into him, or just
because I don't believe he hangs out with the Nazis ever again.
He tries to leave.
He tries to leave,
and then his mom catches him.
Right.
And
but
then,
he's not there at the beach for this scene.
Correct. Yeah, he's not seen again, really.
Yeah.
After that. So yeah, I'm assuming that she basically, I want to think that she basically told him, if I find you hanging out with those people, I'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
So maybe she just talked some sense into him. But I don't know. Anything could have happened.
Yeah. I do know she mentions it when she's having her little monologue in the junkyard. She mentions the blonde boy.
Yeah, all the things that have been happening to you, that's because of me.
Yeah.
Although I don't know exactly what she did.
Yeah.
She burnt the boards.
Burnt the boards and then the grenade, which happened 10 minutes previous.
Like, remember the grenade? Yeah, it just happened.
Yeah, you blew away Hook and Mengele.
Right. Yeah, so when that scene happened, I had to kind of pause it and ask Jen, did that just not happen? Like, yeah, no, it just happened. Oh, okay. Like, I didn't know if there was like a time jump, like it was the next day or something, but no, it literally just happened. How could you forget? Oh, right, the grenades. Yeah, totally forgot about that. Blew away 2 of my friends.
So the Nazis then just start randomly attacking people, stringing up a fisherman under the dock, killing surfers for being on the beach, Mengele specifically biting a guy in the neck like a vampire, and other random attacks. Down at the docks, the samurai surfers and the generic white guys meet to discuss the attacks the Nazis are enacting. They try to come up with a plan to take on the Nazis by teaming up. Meanwhile, Hook gets a new hook. Mrs. Washington goes to the pawn shop and shakes down the owner for a gun, and he's ready to outfit her with an entire army surplus, including grenades. This guy has no backbone.
No.
He just gets shit on by everybody in this movie.
He's the real one that just wants the surf Nazis to die.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Anyone who just has some semblance of a mean streak can just boss that dude around.
Yeah, it would have been more interesting if he was like Mark said, he wants the surf Nazis out. It's like she mentions the surf Nazis, and he's like, "Oh, surf Nazis, come with me," and he brings her to like downstairs, where he just has like rows of guns, like just massive artillery. It's like, what do you need?
It would be like that scene from Falling Down, where and that guy's a Nazi too, I think. Have you seen that movie?
Not in a long time.
Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas goes into this guy's like pawn shop, and he's looking for just some black market shit. And the guy turns out to be a secret Nazi who has like bazookas, shotguns, just like this whole armory. So imagine if it were that, but obviously more on the level here, I guess.
Yeah, but there's probably a scene in like John Wick. Like,
yeah,
or John Wick 2 or something.
Yeah, the Continental always has some type of armory.
Yeah. Mengele then goes to the youth Nazis to find out what they've heard on the beaches, and once he pays them off, they tell them something big's about to happen. At night, Smeg goes to try and warn Adolf about something that's about to happen, but he gets caught sneaking out the window by his mom. The next day, the generic white dudes and samurai surfers prep for something in their own little ways and then head to the beach. The Nazis also head to the beach in their shitty van. All the other crews show up and samurai surfers go surfing as Adolf and Ava sleep on the beach. The samurai surfers try to sneak up on Adolf and Ava as they sleep, but the samurais are so fucking loud that Adolf and Ava jump out of their sleep in time to thwart the attack, and Hook pops up out of a trash can, and they wind up killing the samurai surfers. Adolf and Ava leave, and Brutus, Mengele, and Hook kill the generic white dude surfers, and then the neo-Nazis regroup with Ava stitching up Adolf. Brutus goes out to grab a beer, and then the generic white dudes in cargo shorts pop up and throw acid in his eyes. But then the other guys are too stupid, and they wind up getting killed by Hook and Mengele. Then Adolf shoots Brutus with a crossbow because he's no use to him blind.
Do we ever see the outcome of the bikers?
Nope.
Because I think they kill every other gang but the... they burn the bar, right?
Oh, that's right, they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, without knowing it, this whole Mrs. Washington, because I'm assuming she burned the surfboards, set off this chain reaction that just eliminated all the gangs on the beach.
Pretty much, yeah.
I've never seen a movie...
Queen.
I've never seen a movie where people get the drop on someone so badly and then lose.
Yeah.
Right?
Every time.
Yeah.
The surf Nazi is just, you can't stop them.
Yeah, they're like juggernauts essentially in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The like you said, the samurais, they have them dead to rights, and they fuck it up. Then the generic white dudes, they actually get one of the Nazis and then still lose. They now outnumber the Nazis in this situation 3-2, and they still lose.
Yeah, it's wild. Can't be stopped.
I don't understand what the thought process was in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just have it that they think they have the drop on them, but it's really the opposite way? It's like a trap.
Yeah.
Right? Why not do that? You gain nothing by having... I guess because you wanted to get rid of one of the characters, right? One of the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if that's the reason why, but you could still have it where he gets injured in the ensuing fight regardless. But yeah, I don't understand the play there.
Yeah, I do not know. But at night, the Nazis talk about their worst moments. Hook mentions the time he got his hand bit off by a shark, and Mengele says they're all bad. Adolf then says they'll bury Brutus in the morning. So they bury him in the morning, and as they sleep, a grenade comes rolling by and stops right at Hook's head and explodes. Hook assumedly dies. Mengele stumbles away but collapses in Adolf's arms, and Ava and Adolf hear a motorcycle drive away. So they hop in the van thinking it was one of the bikers. But it's actually Mrs. Washington having a grand old time on a Harley heading back to the retirement home. She gets back in her room and the nurse tries to tell her that she's had enough of her attitude. Mrs. Washington pulls a gun on her and says her life has gone to shit since she's come to the retirement home, and she's sick and tired of everyone's shit, basically. And Adolf and Ava show up at the retirement home, and she pulls a gun on them. So they hop on their motorcycle and drive away. This is the first time someone's pulled a gun on the Nazis, and it just works very well.
I love the evasive maneuvers that that Adolf and Ava perform.
It's like push the nurse in there in front of the way.
Yeah, they just do like kind of like a little duck, and like you obviously you cannot see what I'm doing because this is an audio medium, but it's kind of like a little shuffle to the side each way.
Yeah. It would have been better if they just yelled out serpentine.
Yeah. That's essentially what they were doing.
Yeah, it's almost like the old saying: you punch a bully in the face. In this case, you show a Nazi a gun. And all of a sudden, they're not so tough.
Yeah, that's where the samurai surfers were wrong. They should have just shot them.
Yeah,
but they live by the blade. Yeah.
They have a code, right?
Or nunchucks. They have Ninja Turtle weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not what you do against surf Nazis.
Right. Because you got to better prepare for like a sneak attack, assassination basically.
Right.
Because I don't think anyone's got a sword. They just got like a short blade and nunchucks.
Yeah, it's almost like a dagger essentially.
Yeah. Not great for killing someone on the beach. Just
No.
get a big old samurai sword.
Or a grenade.
Or a grenade. Grenade worked a lot.
That was
very well.
Effective tool.
Got two of them.
The generic white dudes, they used acid. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What is that?
Like, where'd you get it? And
Right.
a gun wasn't readily available.
I guess were they trying to be, quiet, but I don't know.
Still fucked that up.
Yeah. A knife works just as well as acid.
Yep. Mrs. Washington files in the van, and they wind up in some sort of junkyard as Adolf and Ava try to hide from Mrs. Washington on foot. And she hunts them in the junkyard, telling Adolf to remember her and all the crazy shit that's happened to him recently, and to remember her son Leroy. She shoots at them, but they wind up getting away, and they run all the way down to the beach, where must be miles, where they steal a couple of boards from some hapless surfers and surf away. But Mrs. Washington winds up holding a fisherman at gunpoint to chase after them in his boat, which she probably could have just asked nicely, because it doesn't seem like anybody has goodwill towards these surf Nazis. And they wind up running over Ava with the boat, decapitating her. Eventually, Adolf kills the fisherman, so it's up to Mrs. Washington.
I cackled at Ava's death. That was great. It was just like a ha-ha! Like, that's great. They showed a decapitated head, and that was like the best part of it.
Mark, there are surf Nazis out there dying, and you think it's funny?
Oh yeah, every time.
All right, Mark's got a dark sense of humor.
Yeah. People are dying out there. Terrible, Mark.
So Mrs. Washington takes control of the boat and starts to chase after Adolf. She rips into his surfboard, breaking it in half, and it looks like Adolf is dead. But then he pops up behind her, but she grabs him by the neck and shoves a gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger, blasting his head right off. And Mrs. Washington drives away on the Harley, laughing to herself in victory. And that is the end of Surf Nazis Must Die.
One of my favorite parts about that very end is that obviously there wasn't it was $20,000, so obviously there wasn't a script coordinator on set. But the fact that was obviously only one cigar for every take, because she lights it in the beginning, and then by the time she kills Adolf, it's like almost finished.
Right.
And it was only supposed to be like 15 seconds between those two moments.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This was not a particularly good movie.
No.
Yeah. It was a rough watch.
Mm.
I think one of the other things that annoyed me with this movie was the pawn shop owner mentions to Mrs. Washington that the gun that he gives her will not only blow a guy's head off, it'll blow their upper body off. And we find out that that's a lie. She sticks the gun directly in Adolf's mouth, and it just kind of blows a hole in the back of his head, really. It does a normal what a gun would do.
Yeah. So I think that's it. That's it for Surf Nazis Must Die. I don't really have anything more to say. I've seen more fun Troma movies.
Yeah. This was a drag.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they just released this, or if it was actually produced by. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't see.
Well, I guess my final question to you guys is, when does the remake for this come out? Do you think they would do a remake?
Oof, that would be tough.
You don't think in this day and age it could be pulled off?
You could do it, And then you just have to hear the backlash about the tolerant left.
Oh, the wokeism. Can't get my surf Nazis.
Well, imagine if I said, like, BLM must die. What about then? Right?
BLM surfers? That's pretty interesting.
BLM must die, huh? And then be like, well, that's not really the same thing. So you're aligning yourself with said surf Nazis.
And people who died on that hill.
If you're comfortable with saying my side is the surf Nazi side, then more power to you, buddy.
And there'd be people out there. I did think that Adolf kind of looked like an older Zac Efron at times.
Okay, I can see it.
Yeah, so like if they remade it, would it be difficult to get Zac Efron to be Adolf? I don't know. I feel like Zac Efron's kind of all over the place.
You might be able to get Daniel Radcliffe.
You know what? That's not a bad choice either, because people wouldn't care if he did that, because everyone loves Daniel Radcliffe.
Yep, Daniel Radcliffe with his "fuck you" money.
Yep. Oh, I love it. Just people have said it, but he's done everything perfect.
Yeah.
He got his franchise money. I was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. This is great.
I'm gonna go star in a Roku original Weird Al movie.
Yeah, and again, people are going to just love him for it,
and it looks great.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll be up for like an award for it. Like, how hilarious would that be?
That'd be amazing.
20 people saw it. Up for best actor.
Yeah, that's all we got for Surf Nazis Must Die. Not great, but onward and upward, gentlemen, because I believe this is episode 199, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
And that means next week is episode 200. We've got a special one.
Exciting.
It's very exciting. So tune in for episode 200, and we'll probably end this month with an episode 200 spectacular, where we just talk about the last 100 episodes, maybe 200 episodes. I think we'll do between 101 and 200 we'll talk. And then it's October after that. So we'll be kicking off 31 Days of Horror extravaganza. So check us out on the socials. Go ahead.
I said, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. Check us out on the socials, TikTam Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and They Call This Movie on TikTok, where you can find us TikToking it up. And get us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening to this, you already know where to find us. So that's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Surf Nazis Must Die is Peter George. Once again, do not trust a man with two first names. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Del Vecchio telling Peter George, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.